Hey everybody, welcome to another Photoshop CS6 tutorial, and I'm your host Buddy Blackford. And in the next few tutorials we're going to start learning how to work with the history panel. And on the elementary level, the history panel gives you the ability to perform multiple undos, but it's also much more than that. You can combine it with other tools such as the history brush and the art history brush to have like a trio of different tools that you can use to take your document to the next level. So the history panel comes in a linear mode and a non-linear mode. The linear mode helps you keep track of your recent steps, and you can erase any of the steps that that you need to. So, and then the non-linear mode preserves all those steps for linear and non-linear, and is useful when you need to think outside the box. So, let's get into what we're more of what we're talking about here. So, what you need to do is come up to your window menu here, click on it, and then bring up history, and it should pop up here with this history button up here. It should be the top one with these three boxes and then an arrow that goes up that way. Now you can see that I have done a few things to this image here, and this is everything that's in my document that is being recorded by the history. Let me make it a little bigger so we can see more of what we're doing. So I've opened up an image, added a new layer, used the paint bucket, moved things around, and the history panel records all this for you. Now some things that are not recorded by the history panel, so everything's not recorded by it. So for example, if I want to hide or show this layer using the eye right here, that does not get recorded in the history panel options. But if I wanted to do something like make this a little smaller, so if I hit Control T to bring up the freeform options and I just make this like a little smaller and hit enter, the free transform now shows up there. So then you can see what you've been doing and keep track of what's going on with the history panel. Working with the history panel requires a firm understanding of how the panel functions and what you can or cannot do with the history. So we're going to go over each part to make sure that we know it through and through and we can use it professionally, and it's not just a tool that you just use to fix your undos. So let's start out by looking at the options. Now I probably went over the options in one of the first tutorials that I made where we went over the different preferences. So there's the options in the preferences, and then there's options for the history options. So I'll go into the preferences now. So let's go to edit, then let's come down to preferences, then let's come down to performance. And this is where some of your history options are. We've got it right here under the history and cache. So you can optimize this the different way. Here's the different amount of steps that the history saves, and I've got mine set to 20. You can jack that way up if you want, and that's pretty much it for the history. Most of the other stuff is for the cache. So these buttons here are about the size of your document. If you have a tall and thin document, here's a regular one, and I just use pretty much default every time, unless I'm working on like something really huge, then I use big and flat. But I almost never work on tall and thin unless I'm working like on a web banner or something. So let's hit OK. And now I want to show you the history options that you can set. So come into your history panel and go to the history options here, right here, that I have my mouse on. Click on it, and we've got a few options that I'll go over really quick with you. So we've got automatically create first snapshot, and that creates a snapshot or an image when the document first opens, and automatically create new snapshot when saving. and that creates a snapshot every time you save the document. And that's useful for keeping track of changes that you've made to a document. And when you're in Photoshop, you should be saving all the time, just to make sure you don't lose any of the work that you've been working on. So just get in the habit of saving a lot, and check that if you would like to create a snapshot every time you save. Then we've got allow nonlinear history, and that allows you to operate history in a nonlinear state, and we'll go over that a little more later on. We've got show new snapshot dialog by default, and that opens a dialog box with options each time you create a new snapshot. And then make layer visibility changes undoable, which instructs Photoshop to make any changes made to a layer's visibility undoable. So that's the different history options. I'm just going to leave it at default like it was. And that's all that's going to be taught in this tutorial. We went over like the basics of what the history panel was, what it does, and it's like the different things that we can do with it, I guess. So thanks for watching this one, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next tutorial. Make sure you give a thumbs up if you liked it. Have a good one, everybody.